My name is Kyle, and I'm going to tell you about how I built a robot that can burn down my house. Alright, so this project was inspired by the long-running meme of the DOOMBA. It has several iterations out in the wild. If we head over to our DOOMBA, we can see that the list is long. So I look at these and I think, man, it would be super fun to have one of these diabolical machines, the real incarnation of it, in my own home. For obvious reasons, it can't explode, because I need to live here, but we can still have some destructive fun with fire. Because I might actually be able to avert a real disaster if it shoots fire. Real smooth brain move here, but fire extinguishers are cheap. So I dived headfirst into Fusion 360, and after several days of hiding in my office like some nasty CAD goblin covered in Cheeto dust, this was the result. So let's talk about this. First part of this is going to be this aluminum subframe. This is kind of important. It provides a base for everything else to be built off of. But, being a planar construction, we can use a service like Send Cut Send to be able to have this made for us for pretty reasonable amount of money. The second kind of critical part here that's kind of unique to this is these drive modules. So these are kind of cool. I'm going off of the drone motor 1500 kV kind of deal going on here with a belt reduction to drive the motors. I kind of chose this because I know that there's some ESCs, electronic speed controllers out in the market that do bi-directional control that are pretty affordable, from the same, reputable Amazon scumbag. There's a bunch out there. I mean, if I were doing this correctly, I would use a O-Drive module, but, those are hundreds of dollars, and, I make things on the internet for free, so... the next really important part here we have going on is this electronics carrier. And this is kind of important because if your robot's made out of metal, you gotta put your electronics on plastic. That's just how things work, But it provides a very important feature, is a way to be able to actually mount the gas canister for the DOOMBA. If we're going to shoot fireballs, we gotta have a reliable way to do that. And isobutane canisters are readily available. But more importantly, they can be adapted to use, plumbing fittings that you're not really supposed to use with gas fittings. So if you do think about building a DOOMBA, don't do what I did. The other important part we have going on here is these casters. So this is actually kind of one of those little life hack things for people who do Fusion 360 that you should know about, but many people don't. So these casters, I didn't actually model these. McMaster-Carr, wonderful resource, provides 3D models that are accurate for all the products that they offer. So I was able to just go to McMaster-Carr, pick one out, and drop it right in. So I was able to get all the dimensions right on the first go. I didn't actually have to order any of these parts a second time, which is really cool. They all just fit together. So being a digital first design like this is kind of new for me, but everything in this fit together in the first go, and it was pretty cool to see in person. So, and finally, for suspension, we're using some of these oil-filled RC car shocks. And these are super cheap, super available. Anyone could get these for a real reasonable, sum of money on the internet. But Amazon's a great resource, again, for something like this. And, of course, we have this special little plastic piece. It reminds me of the eyeballs on a lobster, or not a lobster, on a crab. They're just sticking up all funny. But these holes are actually for the igniter wires to come through. And the idea is that we bend the gas line around here. And on this mount point right here, we're going to stick our solenoid valve. So all this is just one single attachment, comes around, and that's where we can shoot fire. So, and we're going to use a 40 kV high voltage source. There's a bunch of them available also on Amazon. That I'm not actually sure why they exist, but they look like effectively the guts for a taser. I mean, I'm not going to complain because they're super cheap and super dangerous. Like they will kill you in a jiffy, it looks like. But they mount right into this little hole here. They just slide in, and I have the wires coming through, and I have a little power adapter board dealio going on here that takes power for the relays that are triggered via a microcontroller that sits over in this pocket over here. So we can use the 11.1 volts that's on board from a 3S battery to drop that down to, a reasonable paltry 4 volts that these things need. The operational range is only 3 to 6 volts. So dropping that down is really important to, ensure that there's some survivability in the componentry. But in a nutshell, that's the design. So let's see what this thing looks like in real life.